Hello, everybody. So it's Nikki Jordan here, and this is the season of giving. And I have been talking about sharing. Do you even know how to receive? Now, one of the parts of this season is that we or children or whoever are shopping. We're shopping or rearranging and decorating or something like this. And part of that whole angle is not only what wants to come play with you, but what wants to leave. Do you have dead energy in your house? Do you have things talking to you that really have been begging for a long time to leave? And I say this because obviously it's something I'm doing. It's something that I tend to do at this time of year when you know more's coming in. What can you let go of? And I have been doing this for quite a while, but I've been realizing more and more that there is even more that wants to leave. And it wants to leave fast. Now that I've been listening more, things are talking with more urgency. That is interesting. So, if you don't know me, I am all about energy, right? So everything, from my studies of chemistry and electrical engineering, maybe that's where it started. Probably started when I was a kid and didn't know anything about that. But everything is energy in the world. Everything in the universe is energy, and everything has something it does with that energy. And you might think that this old bowl or something like that is inanimate, but it's not. So let's talk about sentimental things. One of the things that was very interesting, I had a client named Phyllis Van Wyck, and Phyllis Van Wyck was somebody who was a Vanderbilt. And if you don't know who the Vanderbilts are, look them up. And she was given to me as a client because my energy teacher who turned my energy on said, you're going to learn something from her. And what she did is she hired me to fly to Boston and stay with her, and she wanted to know about the energies before she died. And so I would explore them with her, and I would tell her what they were saying, and then they would tell me things to do, and then I would do them to her, and she said, oh my God, that works. How did that, that was my first, 23 years ago or whatever, that was my first inkling that everything was talking. And these are things that weren't there. This was just energy. But one of the things another client who was older said, what's amazing about Phyllis is she doesn't hold on to anything. She has no this is someone who's got hundreds of years of family history of things that they could hold on to, and she doesn't hold on to a thing. Doesn't hold on to anything. Nothing is sentimental. Everything is changing. And we enjoyed each other because of that, because that's what I feel too. Have you ever collected a lot of mementos that you want to save, or photos or whatever? Whoops. That was interesting. A lot. I know those lights want to go somewhere else maybe. So have you ever collected a lot of mementos or sentimental objects from travels or whatever? And I'm a world traveler. I've traveled all over the world a lot. I spent 2 independent years doing it with my husband. We just, what do you want to do today? We get up every day and figure out where we're going to go. And we collected all this stuff. And having these things, I remember my energy teacher said, your husband's always wanting to go back to traveling the way you were and paint the way he did. He needs to remember he has to move forward. He's looking at the past to create the future. So are you holding on to anything from the past, receiving from the past as though it's going to contribute to the now and the future, instead of listening from the past and seeing if it wants to leave? Yeah, leave. It's really interesting because, people will give me gifts. And I'm sorry, Maruna, I'm not talking because it gets distracting sometimes to get a lot of text while I'm reading, because I end up, while I'm talking. No, I forgot what I was saying. That's why. So literally it just left. Okay, so everybody who's in my head right now thinking anything, I'll have them go back into their own head, and anywhere I'm in somebody else's head, I'm going to pull myself out. Okay, so that's what we do. We go into each other's realities, and we need to be careful of that. So where I'm talking about receiving from things that want to leave. So my husband, when he realized that it took him a little while, but that he was holding on to the amazing experiences he had in the past while he was living in his job that he wasn't particularly loving, but it was a really amazing job for most people. And I mean, he designed the San Francisco Bay Bridge civil engineering design, not the architectural design. And I'm like, you think you didn't accomplish anything in your life? Everybody drives over that every day. You know, that's a public project, by the way. People are like, oh, you must be rich. No. So he was receiving, he kept wishing for the past as though the past were talking to him, and our house was full of the past. We have all these patterns from India, all these things that we had collected over the time. Oh, and then here's where I was going when I made the comment to Maruna, is my father-in-law would give us things, and then we needed to pass them on. And he said, but I gave them to you because that was important, that we had something from him. And one of the things I remember from my grandmother is that when she was dying, or when she died a day and a half after I had this conversation with her, my dad said she's choking. Her, the esophagus goes as it's a muscle as you get older, and she's 102. And he said, you need to go see her. I don't think she's going to live long. So I went there. We had like 5 glorious days together, and she never choked once. And then as I was getting ready to leave, she was choking. I said, hey, you suppose it's stress? And I sat her down on the couch, and we had this conversation about her things, because that was one of the things that she held on to. She hoarded. And part of that is a Depression era thing, afraid that everything's going to disappear. Anyone who's been in war, sometimes things disappear, or anyone who's lost everything, sometimes you disappear. And that can do one of two things to you. That is, can have you detach from things, and that can have you also hold on to things as dear. And so as also a sense of you could lack them in the future, and you could need them, right? So she had gathered all this stuff from family mementos over the hundreds of years that our family had come to this area. She had like spoons from, like a spoon from this aunt 150 years ago, probably made out of pewter, I don't know, or tin. And she had all this stuff that were mementos, but the energy was stagnant. The energy was stagnant, and it was stressing her out. Who was going to get what? And, would someone, take advantage of her death and take stuff? And so I sat her down, and I told her all the memories I had of her since I could have any memories, since I had anyone at all. And I went through my whole life, and we were very connected, my whole life, and all the things we did together, and all the things I remembered. And I looked at her and I said, and no one can take any of that away. That is added to me. And she looked at me and she goes, I guess nobody's going to really care about this stuff when I die. And I said, I care about what you filled me with, right? And so it's as though she had been holding on to life to some degree, because as you get older, there's a little bit of, she was totally healthy except for skin cancer on her legs. She was walking around in her retirement community with her walker, to have lunch with everybody. But it was kind of like she was done, And I said to her, it's okay if you leave. And during that time I had stayed with her, my husband's colleague, our age, so that was in 2010, that was 10 years ago, our age, died of a heart attack. He was working on the Bay Bridge project with him. It was a very important person who just flat out died of the heart attack and left his family with 3 kids. And so my grandmother had gone through that with me. And then I just said to her, you can leave if you want to. Everything's okay. And she did. She left a day and a half later, and she had all her makeup on. In the morning, she had gotten herself all ready for the lady who comes to bandage her legs. And she died exactly the way she wanted to, which was looking good. Her hair was black still. She was 102. So the lady called me. She says, I got to tell you right away. I never even called your dad yet. She died just like she wanted to. So as I listen to the things in my house that are talking to me, they're screaming now, I want out. The singing bowl that I took so long to find in Ladakh in India in I think it was 1995. No, 1994. I took a really long time to find this. And it had to make the perfect sound. And it was made by some monk. And it is gorgeous. But it just sits there. And somebody else will love this. I have given away a lot of this stuff, really beautiful stuff that we collected traveling. Just recently, I put it out on the internet and people came in droves and they sent me pictures and they said, oh my God, I love this so much. And the thing is, saying to me, you don't love me anymore. We don't add to each other anymore. You just have to dust me, or you have to pay someone to dust me, or whatever it is that you do. And he said, I don't want to be dead. I want to be alive. I want to be alive. So yes, Maruna, you receive mementos from other people's travels. You don't buy them from your own travels. But even those, if they contribute to you, great. But once they stop, it's like a bad relationship where nobody wants to be in the same house anymore, except for they don't talk exactly like that. But just think about it. What wants to move on? Sentimentality can hold us back, or something can contribute to us. Well, here's my husband. So I'm going to go now, but I hope that helps you. Have a nice day.